Hey you guys, I'm Danny the Teach. This is Beauty Manifest. I'm going to be talking a little bit quiet. So a little bit about me. This is a channel for storytelling, and it would make sense that you subscribe, and that way you can kind of get my full story. If you just come on for this one video, I'm so grateful to have you here, but please don't leave any mean comments, because if you only found this one video, my perspective may not make sense to you. However, I absolutely love having dialogue in the comments. So, if you take anything from this, please let me know how you feel and what you think in the comment section. I will be so happy to talk with you. So, right now I'm in Nigeria. I'm in Lagos on Victoria's Island for my first time. I've never been to Africa at all. And I saw a video yesterday. Yesterday was literally on TikTok for like an obscene amount of time. And so anyways, I saw this video, and basically it was this black man saying that he feels like Nigerians are racist towards black Americans. And then he was talking about, I think the word is like akata, something like that. I'm not Nigerian, I wouldn't know, I'm black American. And I've heard that word before, and I think it is like a derogatory term, but like, okay, let me hit on these points. Okay, so the overall point that I'm making is that no, Nigerians as a whole are not racist towards you. So like, just get that out of your head. Like, did maybe one specific Nigerian feel a certain type of way about black Americans, or his political views maybe are a certain type of way that maybe you wouldn't agree with? Maybe. I don't even know about that, but maybe. So it's like, okay, move on with your life. Like, literally, who cares? Okay, so I'm black American, so I'm gonna talk from a black American perspective. I personally hate slave movies, and I hate the way that black history is taught in America. Okay, I hate it. I feel that it gives us a complex, and it's very dangerous. Like, even the way that we talk about white people, like, people will be like, oh my gosh, I would never date a white man because they do crazy things. You're gonna end up Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, that's the kind of stuff that white people do. You're gonna end up cut up in a cage. I had this white science teacher. Actually, all my teachers were white growing up, but I had a white science teacher, and he had like this like long hair, and for whatever reason, he was really creepy to me, and I actually had a nightmare that he like kidnapped me and locked me in a cage. So that just shows like how deeply my fear of white people was ingrained in my subconscious. And like so many other little things where it was like, if someone's parent was like showing me favor, buying me a gift, like, I don't know, just being like really sweet, like one of my white friends' parents, my grandma would be like, no, no, we don't trust white people. She's probably just doing it to like, I don't know, white savior complex or like something. But basically my grandma's like, don't trust it, let's go. Which is fine, that's totally fine. But those little like experiences over and over again, it really played into my subconscious. And I know that a lot of black Americans have this experience. And so the way that we have been raised up has given us a complex, and I see it in the way that I travel the world. I literally go so many different countries, and my thing lately is I actually like going to like more low-key countries, like countries that people don't go to. I went to Nigeria this year, I went to Turkey this year, I went to Greece this year. I mean, everyone goes to Greece, but still. And black people are always like, even if you go on YouTube, you can search up like, does this country like black people? Does this country like black people? Because that is a concern in people's head, to the point that even going to Nigeria, a black country in Africa with black people, they're like, oh, do they like black people there? Why do you think everybody's worried about you? Like, what do you mean, do they like black people there? And then like, I feel like when you say like, do they like black people, that's like a political view, you know, like, do I like a whole race of people? Because technically, like, someone could ask me like, okay, do you like white people? And I could take that question so many times. Like, what do you mean? Like, to date? No, I prefer not to date white people. Like, what do you mean? Like, for government? No, I would prefer a black or brown government official, me personally. Okay, so that's like a political view, that's like an overview. But if someone's like, do you like white people? I'm like, what, like to be friends with? Yeah, there's nothing wrong with white people. Cool. Like, what, to work at the store? Yeah, I'm fine with white people working at the store, like having a white bank teller, having like, I don't have any problems with white people on like an individual basis. As a construct, yeah, I have some critiques of white culture. And so I feel like that's what they're saying when they're like, oh, Nigerians don't like Black Americans. Now I'm going to say something that maybe is a little controversial, but it really shouldn't be controversial at all. I'm a Black American. Anybody who has spent any amount of time in the hood also does not like those Black people. You don't. That would be like me. So, okay, I'll continue. So, no, there's certain Black people and we know how they act. We know how you act, okay? And I don't like them either, okay? The 8 ponytails, the like, like there's some ghetto-ness that goes on that we don't like. That would be like me coming to Nigeria and being like, oh, I don't like Nigerians because they're scammers. Listen, the Nigerians don't like them either. You know what I'm saying? Like, every culture has the bottom of the barrel people, and they don't like them either. Like, why would you judge a whole race based off of those people? That would be like, when you start thinking about white people, do you think of the white trash people? Or do you think of the presidents? You know what I mean? Because the white people don't like the white trash people either. Nobody likes those people. Of course, there's always like social constructs and things in place, and we can always get into like being super liberal and explaining why some people are like that and the culture that has led to that and blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, we do not like people who act like that. We don't like people who are ignorant, who are ghetto, who are any of these things. And so if a Nigerian American is critiquing Black culture, I'm almost positive they're talking about those people. They're talking about the baby mamas and baby daddies. They're talking about all that stuff. Because mind you, like here in Nigeria, there's still baby mamas, baby daddies. I saw a funny creator who I like, and he's like, oh, we don't have baby mama, baby daddies in Nigeria. We have aunties with no uncles. You know what I mean? So like, this is life. Like, relationships don't always last in any country, in any space of the world. Like, it just is what it is. And I feel that Black people really need to get it out of our system and do some deep therapy and a lot of traveling, because people are not worried about you like you think that they're worried about you. Why would it even be a conversation that you think Nigerians don't like Black Americans? Who said that? And just because they don't like Black Americans doesn't mean that they don't like you. You know what I'm saying? Because maybe I have come across somebody. Actually, I have. I used to date this guy. He was from Rwanda, and his stepmother was like kind of racist, and he was probably kind of racist. Not racist, but I'll get into that after. But like they had some beliefs about Black people. They were thinking baby mama, baby daddy, teen mom, blah blah blah. All the ghetto stuff, fighting in the streets, blah blah blah. Even though I've never been to his country, but it's probably ghetto. That's all I'm saying. But anyways, they had the nerve and the audacity to feel some type of way about the problems that we have in Black society. And I don't feel like they have the place to do that, because I don't come over to your country and start making critiques of your society. Or maybe I do, but at least I'm not going to tell you, because that would be rude. Anyways, and also, I mean, I have the right to do that. Like, if I travel somewhere new, I have the right to have opinions. There's nothing racist about that. Like, I get to have an opinion. So whatever, he had some negative opinions about Black people, but he didn't have negative opinions about me. And so that's fine. And he felt like Black people don't have a culture and we don't have tradition. I felt like that was ignorant, but I also felt like it's not really my place. Well, it could be, but I guess this is kind of like a conditioning I have. In that situation, I felt that it wasn't really my place to have to teach him and educate him about Black culture. Like, I was like, if he wanted to know, he would know. He has Google, he has YouTube, he has all these things. And like, I quite frankly just have no interest in teaching him. And I felt like that way growing up. I grew up around a lot of white people, and a lot of white people are ignorant to Black things. Like, they wouldn't, if I come with my hair braided, like, they're gonna be confused, they're gonna have questions, they're gonna have all this stuff. And I would usually just like really brush over it. I'd be like, yeah, like my mom did my hair, and then leave it at that, because I just personally don't feel like it's my job to educate ignorant people. Like, if they really wanted to know, they can figure it out. But I personally don't want to be the spokesperson for Black people. And growing up, I feel like I was put into that position a lot against my will. Like, oh, well, what do Black people think about this? And then I'd be the only Black person there, and I'd have to speak for all the Black people. And that was really traumatic for me, and I didn't like it. And so now, like, I just avoid that at all costs. So there's that. Just because someone feels a way about black people doesn't mean that they feel a way about you. And so you shouldn't walk into the room with a complex already, thinking that like people don't like you. Imagine like that in like any other space. Like you walk into a job interview and you're already thinking people don't like you. You're trying to get a gig, like, and you're thinking people don't like you. Like, it's very counterproductive and it's very toxic to our community to feel like that. Like, you need to get past that. And also like feeling like, and sometimes that leads you to like sabotage the experience, and sometimes it causes you to over deliver and do way more than you need to do. You know what I mean? Like, because you're feeling like you're starting like below everybody else because you're black, and so you have to like overperform. Don't be overgiving, don't be overperforming, don't be people pleasing. Like, people have no problem with you. A lot of times they want you in the room just as like the diversity pick. Literally, like, honestly, if you look at it as like you actually have an advantage because you're black and you have a unique perspective, and you actually, like, I have this perspective. I grew up like middle class, and I always sometimes was like not jealous of, but I felt like people who came from struggle had more, they were more resourceful and they were more hungry, and they were actually like harder competitors than other people who grew up very privileged. Now that I'm older and I know I've seen more of the world, I don't think that I necessarily believe that, because I think that people who come from families where the family already had a plan for their life and then pushed them along that path, they actually have an advantage. But there is something to be said about people who have like a strong hunger and drive to be successful, especially in America, but really anywhere. And that's why Nigerians come to America and are typically very successful, because they come from a struggle and they're grateful every day and they work really, really hard. Because honestly, like, hard work in America doesn't even compare to hard work in Nigeria. Like, it doesn't. Even though, like, I mean, there's a lot of nuance to that because the community here is kind of set up different, so I kind of feel like people don't work as hard. But at the same time, if they're trying to like make a lot of money and get out of Nigeria, then like, yeah, that takes a lot of work. Versus in America, like, to go from here to here, like, you really don't have to work that hard. Like, they literally have people talking about like 4-hour work weeks and all this lazy stuff in America. So you can definitely make money here. It's not impossible, it's not hard. All you need is a plan. And so that's why they come here and they're very successful. What's the other thing I was gonna say? Oh yeah, okay. So first of all, I don't think that you should ever think that anyone, or assume anyone, has anything against you. If someone surprises you and they end up being racist, it should come as a shock, but you should never go into a room like assuming people are going to be racist towards you. And that goes for any type of people, because you'd really be surprised at how you're received with love. However, in this situation where people are saying that Nigerians are racist against black Americans, first of all, it's impossible. First of all, we're both black. That's for starters. Two, it has nothing to do with you. Literally has nothing to do with you. I feel that black people need to create our own nepotism through marriages, through all kinds of other things. And honestly, like, we should have more advantage because we have been here longer. And that's what Nigerians say, and then black people get all uptight. But we really should have more connections and more black people in more high places because we've been here longer, right? And I know, like, there's a lot of politics that goes into that, but still, we need to be creating our own nepotism through strategic marriages and strategic friendships and organizations and things of that nature. We've been having these sororities and fraternities since the early 1900s. That should be getting us places. That should be ensuring nepotism for us. If you are not having that same experience, then network a little bit harder. But either way, like, Nigerians literally don't have the power or space to be racist towards you, because they don't really have the power or space to deny you opportunities. Say, for example, you are going for like head of chief for a hospital, and the person who's going to decide your job is a Nigerian man. It's probably not, it's probably a white person, but let's just pretend it's going to be a Nigerian man. He could possibly show prejudice towards you if you are going up against a Nigerian American, or a Nigerian American, and he could choose that person over you because he's Nigerian as well. And honestly, I personally feel like tough luck. Tough luck. Like, try again next year because, oh, I don't know how these positions work, but you know, you're gonna have to try again in the future because that makes sense. And if I were a Black American and I have the option to choose a Black American to get the role, I'm going to do that. I am. Like, I don't care what anybody thinks. Like, if I'm in a position of power and I have the opportunity to give a Black person an opportunity over somebody else, I'm gonna do that. And so I can't be mad at anybody else who would do that for their own people. Like, that just makes sense. And that's why you need to support your own people and make sure that your people are in positions of power. In that way, one day when your child needs a job, you know someone and you help someone be in a position of power, and now they can help you to get your child into a position of power, and everybody can come up and everybody can grow. Duh. Like, there's really no other opportunity for a Nigerian person to be racist towards you. Like, somebody not wanting to spend time with you is not racist, even on white people. And I've said this before. I had this white friend before. I think I told this in a different story. And I think I was actually with a group of white people because at that time I was just like starting to get more Black friends. And so I would hang out with my Black friends and I would hang out with my white friends, and it would be like totally separate. And I've evolved since then, but that's where I was. So I happened to be with my white friends, and some of the white girls, I guess they were like experimenting dating Black athletes, as a lot of white girls do in college. And so one of the Black athletes was like trying to get us to come over or whatever, and then one of the white guys was like, oh, like, who's gonna be there? And or she was like, oh, like, these people want us to like come chill, everyone's invited. And then he was like, oh, who's gonna be there? And then she told him who was gonna be there, and he was like, I really don't feel like hanging out with a bunch of Black guys right now. And everyone's like, oh my god, you can't say that. Mind you, the white people were saying that, and I was kind of thinking, like, I just didn't say anything. I just was silent because, once again, I don't like having to be the spokesperson for all Black people. But in my head, I was thinking, and thank God I didn't say this out loud to them, because then they would be carrying this belief through life as this is how Black people think. Anyways, I personally thought that there was nothing wrong with that, because I definitely have days and times where, like, I don't want to be around a bunch of Black people, or where I definitely don't want to be around a bunch of white people. What if someone invites me to a white happy hour? I have to be in a very specific, certain kind of mood. Like, most of the time, I don't feel like going and being around a bunch of white people. I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. Any race can feel like that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be around your own people. Literally, everybody does it. There's nothing racist about it. Stop trying to force people to be your friend. If they don't want to be your friend, they don't want to be your friend. It's not racist. It's human nature. You want to be around people who are like-minded and who are like you. There's nothing wrong with that. And so if African people only like to go to African clubs, let them only go to African clubs. And I actually prefer going to African clubs too, because I don't like all the loud hip-hop music. That's the main thing. I don't like all the loud hip-hop music. Hip-hop music is ghetto. I said what I said. And that's it. I think that was my last point. Like, Nigerians literally can't be racist towards you. Just because someone doesn't want to be your friend doesn't mean they're being racist. Doesn't mean they need to change. Like, there's literally no problem with it. Like, what's the point that you're trying to make? And actually, I think this is the last thing I'll say. When I was in college, I had joined the African Student Organization because I did not know a lot of Africans growing up. This is kind of embarrassing. I didn't know a lot of Africans growing up, and so I thought the African Student Organization was gonna be like Black Americans who wanted to like connect to their roots and wear dashikis and stuff. Like, that's what I thought, because there was a lot of that in Michigan, where I'm from. Like, Black Americans who would travel to West Africa and learn how to make the foods and learn how to dance and wear dashikis and wrap their hair and just be like very like Hotep, Afrocentric, blah blah blah. But I didn't know a lot of like actual Africans. But when I got to Texas, there's like billions. It seems like billions of Africans here. So I was like, oh wow, this is different. So I go to African Student Organization, and it's literally all kinds of Africans. And I think I was like the only Black American. I was like, this is kind of awkward. It wasn't awkward, but it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And they actually, I only went like 2 or 3 times, which is crazy. The first time I went, tell me why they're actually having a conversation about like disparities between, or like the tension between Black Americans and Africans. And I didn't know any Africans. And a lot of the Black Americans I knew, like they wanted to be like Afrocentric and into their African roots. And so I personally didn't know that there was any tension between the two. I still don't I don't know that there's any tension between the two, because nobody has ever given me an issue. Like, Africans have always been really, really welcoming to me. And I am an open-minded person anyways. Like, I'm not ignorant. I'm not calling them booty scratchers. I'm not asking them if they have lions in their backyard. Like, I'm not an ignorant person. And I feel like that's the issues that a lot of Africans have. And not to mention, like, when they move here, they're poor. And like, poor Black people, poor people period, are a less pleasurable experience than people who have a lot going for themselves, period. Like, if you move to America and you move to a poor neighborhood, like, it's not going to be a good experience. And of course, you're going to internalize some beliefs about the people who live there. And so I feel like that's where it comes from. And then also, if you moved here while you were in high school, you probably got bullied, especially if you're dark skinned and your hair is snappy. Like, you definitely got bullied. And so you internalize, like, oh, Black people are ignorant, Black people are mean, Black people are this. And honestly, I felt the same way. Black people were ignorant towards me, Black people were mean towards me. It's all true. But as we grow up and mature, like, things are different. And as you meet people who are more cultured, more worldly, more well off, things change. Yeah, but they were actually having that conversation with the African Student Organization. So I guess the tension comes from both sides, and people do feel like Black Americans don't like Africans, and people feel like Africans don't like Black Americans. And this is just life. But I would just, to summarize all this, I would encourage you to meet everyone on an individual basis. This includes white people, this includes all people. And don't go in assuming that someone doesn't like you, and don't think that someone not liking you is going to impact your life. Like, I'm going to shine regardless. I actually don't care if anybody likes me or not. We ball. Like, that's it. I love you guys. If you made it this far in the video, I love you so much. I appreciate you for being here, and I hope you have the most beautiful and blessed day. I love you.